Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of the Web Show. We're super excited to just chat with you guys today about something that we realized we haven't really done before, and that would be just kind of a getting to know us type situation. So my name's Webby Pumpkin, and I might look a little different, but my life's kind of crazy. Oh my gosh, that's so dumb. But on a real note, dude, it occurred to me that I know you, and you know me. We know each other. Yes, and but not necessarily everybody does. And most of the time, if someone's asking questions, they're asking me in the chat on Twitch, twitch.tv/WebbyPumpkin, and so there's a lot about just gaming and our backgrounds and everything that I might not even know about you, and vice versa. And what gives us any kind of authority to talk about games on the internet, other than the fact that it's the internet and we can do whatever we want, than this? So I thought it'd be fun to just jot down some questions, and then after that, the thing that I don't think you looked at, a little lightning round of some questions and everything for each of us, just so the viewers and listeners at home can get to know Webby, get to know Topaz a little better. What do you think?
I think it's going to be good. Let's go.
All right. Oh, I don't know if it'll be good, but it's going to happen. All right. Well, starting things out, tell us, who are you?
Other than Topaz?
Whatever you want to say.
I am Topaz. Real name. Topaz.
I knew you were going to do that.
That's fun. I'm Taurus. Taurus,
okay.
Toris Smith.
First and last.
Yeah.
And what's your address?
If you want to know me, it's 769-064-86362.
Oh, mine's 8675309. Weird.
Yeah, Taurus. Taurus is my name, my real name, legal name. Name I had to grow up loving. But Topaz, that's who I am.
That's actually, since you did that, I'm going to add a little extra here, then I'll come over to me. Where did Topaz come from? Like that name?
Zelda.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Came from Zelda. Let's see. How can I say this really quickly? I played a lot of Zelda, a lot of Ocarina, Majora's Mask. Actually, no, I don't even think none of those had. No, it must have been Breath of the Wild. I don't even know if the older games had. I think they just had rupees.
What that tells me is that you must have had a really upsetting time when you played Tears of the Kingdom and you kept getting opals.
No, so the Topaz was there, and I was just like, man, that's a really cool name, and it's kind of close to my name, T.O., that close.
Yeah.
And then
just like tongue and tomato.
Yeah. I was in the I think I was in the process of trying to find another gamer name or another name, for that. And then that happened, and then I think it was like 3 different signs of Topaz being the name. So Zelda was being the one. And then I went to I think my wife was pregnant. And we were going to the appointments, and we had to sign the little thing, and the little signature thing in the doctors. It's like Topaz.
Yeah, the birth certificate. I hope not.
No. The machine itself is a Topaz.
What?
Signing kind of thing.
Okay.
And then there was another instant where Topaz came. I think I was probably in Walmart because I was still working at Walmart at the time. And it just came up again. I was like, man, this has got to be a sign that I'm finna do something with Topaz. And that's where it came from, guys.
And who would have known that now you would be at least semi-widely known on the internet as Topaz? That's wild.
Web's out.
Who would have thought it would have been with this guy? So I'm Jonathan, and that's as far as I'm going with it. But just because I'm too online with that.
Wait, I think I know yours.
But what? the story of my gamer tag?
Yeah, it was like a randomized kind of deal.
Yeah. So I'm Webby Pumpkin, the host of the web show extraordinaire, and best streamer on Twitch, and also available for weddings and shindigs and bar mitzvahs. And no, probably not. But no, so originally Webby Pumpkin 262 was actually the gamer tag, but I got the name from. All right, so I didn't really grow up with minigames, and I got an Xbox 360, and it generates like a gamer tag for you, and so it generated Webby Pumpkin 262 for me, and I was like, I don't know, this is weird, and it gives you immediately the option to change it, but I opted to keep it. And the reason I kept it is because Spider-Man was always my favorite character growing up. Webby, Webhead. I was like, that's cool. And then I was the baby of like the siblings, and so my nickname to like parents and older families in the
that's cool.
Yeah, it was Pumpkin or Punkin because I'm from the South, and so Webby Pumpkin just kind of felt right. And actually, originally when I was on Mixer, I branded as Webby Pumpkin 262, but now that I've a little more content aware, I realized that having numbers and everything in your brand is not really a good idea usually. And so whenever Mixer left us and I had to make the migration to another platform, I made the decision to drop the numbers. And so I just became Webby Pumpkin. But you'll notice I kept it. I stopped doing it recently because character limits. But on every system I got after the Xbox, like my PlayStation and everything like that, as just a little nod for the OGs, watching there, my gamer tag everywhere, Epic, everything is actually still Webby Pumpkin 262. And if I ever have to use numbers, it's always 262. It's just a little throwback. So that's me. That's me.
One more thing that I forgot to mention about it, because Topaz, it's not just Topaz, it's Topaz UC. And people are like, well, what does the UC stand for? And we're like, oh, that's something so deep. But it's not really, because when I was picking this name, I was sure about Topaz. I wasn't sure about anything else because I had to add it. UC is just what it sounds like. UC. It's Topaz UC. You see me. That's what the UC
like
is
the
for.
National anthem.
Now I might,
Can you see? Yeah.
Something may come later, but as of right now, it's just UC spelled wrong.
Yeah. We need to come up with something that it can be an acronym for as like a little thing.
I like that.
My first thought was Underwear Commando.
Oh, my God.
But I don't want it to be that. Topaz Underwear Commando.
Dropping soon.
I
said that and didn't even know it. That's
all right. Well,
that's how we do.
This is going to be great. Well, the next question, we're just going to run through these just and basically have an open dialogue kind of discussion here. Almost like we invite you guys into the conversation, but it's really just a conversation between us on this one. Like, I'm asking questions. We're going to share the answers for both, and then we'll do a rapid fire round at the end before we say goodbye. Just to, hopefully I'll get to know you a little bit better in this, and you guys are invited to just be
even though we've been knowing each other for how many years?
But 5. But
feels like it's been a long time, my brother.
Well, we crammed a lot of time into the last year. And I wouldn't have it any other way. But we spent a lot of time together in the last one. And I like it that way. And when we're not next to each other, guys, we're usually on the phone or at least texting. So It's been great. It's been cool. It's been really, really cool. All right. Tell me about and I guess what I had you go first, but I'll read the question. But you don't necessarily always have to start with the answer. But this is like the first real one. So why don't we start with you, and the next one I can go first. But tell me about your life before video games.
I guess I can say that I guess we're talking like my life before being really big or being like night
my life before being real big.
Open release night kind of deal, or playing. I don't know, dude, because I've been playing games.
Wait, I've
been playing games all my life.
I had no life before games.
It was a part of my life.
Yeah, okay.
That's what I'm saying. Games
came out the womb with an NES.
Yeah, man, I was out the room like, gimme, basically. But I don't know, dude, because I stayed in. Well, okay. If I were to go before, because I never liked going outside. Never liked going outside. Whenever like my mom would make us go outside for her time. But I was always the one that kind of passed, and I was able to stay inside, and I would just watch my shows and sit in the rocking chair. And I used to rock like that kind of stuff. I used to rock myself to sleep, and that was just my comfort. And TV, movies, shows, cartoons was my life, I guess, before games.
What kind of I know I'm like pushing it a little bit more, but I'm curious. So you say movies and cartoons, that make a lot of sense to me, knowing you even now. Mm-hmm. What were you watching? Like, give me like put us in like a time era here.
Guys, I am 30. Ugh, never mind. I'm in my 30s. So the era would probably be Looney Tunes.
Really?
Tom and Jerry.
Okay. So definitely a heavy
Power
Cartoon
Rangers.
Network influence.
Yeah. Dexter, Powerpuff Girls.
Okay, no shame.
I'm
a little different, but
probably the Saturday morning show cartoons as well. On that one channel, Ninja Turtles. There's this one show. It came out a little later. What is it? Something about food. Fighting Futons. I don't know. Some of you older people would know what this is, maybe. But it was an anime, one of those Saturday morning cartoons. Let's see what else. The dude, Captain Planet.
Okay.
I guess some Nickelodeon stuff too was kind of in there. You had, the Rugrats. You had Rocket Power. You had you had just a lot of stuff over in on that side too. Man, I just kind of enjoyed a lot of stuff.
That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
There's more I want to ask, but we'll kind of get to it in some upcoming questions. So that's really cool. So for me, I feel like most of my life was before video games, if I'm being honest. Like, there's almost two categories for me. There's before video games and there's before, like, streaming. But to give the most credit to the question, I really didn't play video games as a kid, mostly because I didn't have them. I was already in double digits before I got, and I'm not in my 30s, but before I got my first system. There. Almost. I've got a little bit longer, but before I even got my first system, I was already, double digits and everything. So, like, I had to go outside a lot and play a lot. I was allowed kind of in and out because I basically, even though I have a brother, I basically lived as an only child because he's 17 years older than me.
Good night.
And yeah, so he was out the door as I was coming in the door, basically,
All right, y'all have fun with this baby.
Basically, he he was having his own baby at the time, and so.
Oh yeah,
which makes it really interesting because I'm the oldest of all the group, but like my eldest niece is 5 months younger than me, and so and my brother's 17 years older, and so I basically grew up as an only child, but an only child with benefits, if that makes sense. And what I mean by that is I think there's this I have this fundamental belief that every child has a different set of parents, and obviously they may be biologically the same parent, but like my parents had my brother, and then to be 17 years later, I had parents that had more wisdom, more experience, more time, and more money. And all those things make a big difference. And so I basically had different parents. Yeah. And then but I was almost maybe I was a science experiment because I was a chance to see, since I was so much later, I was a chance to see what that would do to an only child in a way. Because like I said, I didn't live with him. He was literally, I don't have any.
So it's just you and your brother.
Mm-hmm.
Golly, so 17 years he was
yep.
only child.
I've never lived in the same house as my brother. Like or if I did, it would be like early on. I have no memories of ever living in a home with my brother. So it meant he was living in his own home before the time I was 5 years old, maybe the entire time. So yeah, it's just crazy. And so they introduced me to video games a little bit when I would like visit with him and his wife, but generally speaking, I'd play outside. I was the kid that got a go-kart, and then later, like my dad got a four-wheeler so he could ride that, which I have that four-wheeler now because I wanted it because I grew up with that. And then a bicycle, not in that order. I got the bicycle first. I wrecked that thing a lot, and I played outside a lot. And I did like TV, but my dad was always really frugal. And so we didn't have like satellite or cable or anything like that when we did a lot of like public television, and so that meant pretty much only cartoons on Saturdays. And when we did have satellite for a little while,
Kirby,
the motor. So it was. You guys have no idea about this, but it was a giant satellite dish in our yard. And for it to get to other stations, it actually had a motor on the dish, and the dish had to turn. Oh, our motor went out. And so Dad he basically had it in the spot that had most of the channels that he wanted to watch. And then, but on Saturday mornings, which meant we didn't get Cartoon Network. We had it as part of our plan, but we didn't get it. But on Saturdays, so we could watch cartoons, he would go outside and he would grab the dish and turn it while my mom stood in the door and I stood at the TV to let him know when we got signal and Cartoon Network came through and we'd watch. So that's how I saw Looney Tunes. But for most of my childhood, I didn't watch cartoons either. When we finally got actual satellite, we got to deal with like Dish Network. And that's when I was introduced to Nickelodeon. Yeah. And so where you were a Cartoon Network baby, and I mean everything but Cartoon Network. My wife was a big Disney baby. I wasn't. Nicktoons.
We didn't have Disney.
Nicktoons all the way here. So when you said Rocket Power, I'm like, yes. Rugrats, yes. I'll throw in, like, I love SpongeBob, love the Fairly Odd Parents, loved Jimmy Neutron. I even liked Two Angry Beavers, like all this stuff. But every now and then on Saturday morning, your boy's watching Cow and Chicken. And it was that kind of thing. So anyway, before video games, like, it was that. And I would say, even though this technically is after I got my first console, I really didn't play very much. And so pretty much just, what do you want to know? Like, my whole life, just about my entire life, was before video games. I didn't really start playing video games heavily until about 2018. And so, it's a real late development for me.
It was me, my brother, and my two sisters in our house. So we kind of basically had like hand-me-downs or hand-me-overs.
Yeah.
And we were just, I guess, fortunate in that regard to be given something to, play. It wasn't like a
I think that's so cool.
But me and my brother, well, he played a whole lot more than I do, or played a whole lot more than I did. Yeah, I had that experience with him in the house. It just sucks. I don't know if you wanted that.
No, I want to know everything. Yeah.
No, I didn't know if you wanted to have, a brother in the house with you to have a different kind of life.
Probably
like
not.
that. But yeah. Like,
it's hard to say because, like, I don't know what I missed, but I oftentimes feel like I kind of got the best of both worlds.
I can tell you, he was my older brother. You probably miss a lot of butt whoopings.
Well, I feel like I share a lot that, for the most part, not until my brother and I have had disagreements in our adult lives, but him not being there and everything, I've actually never fought with my brother. We've never really not what I would consider a fight, but now we've had disagreements. And interestingly enough, I always tell people that I think I kind of got the best of both worlds because I do have a sibling, and I could I had access to my sibling. I could go see them and whatnot, but at the same time, like, I always could revoke access as well. Like, I had my own place to be, and he had kids that were growing and being born shortly after me that it almost is, at least the first three were really more like first three of his kids were really more like younger siblings to me in some ways. And so, but they didn't live with me. So I feel like I just kind of got a little bit of both. And so that worked. But I like my system. There is some things that I think could have been cool. I think about some of my friends, like the Whittier Jones's family, and how their dynamic was. There were three boys that were growing up together in the house. And what they basically all did is, like, each Christmas, like, one of them, or not necessarily each Christmas, but one of them would, like, get a console. But then the other one would, like, get games. And basically, like, if one brother was responsible for the Xbox and one brother was responsible for the PlayStation, one brother was responsible for the Nintendo, or whatever the case was, then they each all had access. Usually brothers will still be like, no, this is my Xbox. But they each always had access to every system because of that, because of having siblings. And they just bought the games that they were interested in on whatever system. And so it kind of opened up an avenue, which is cool. But in hindsight, now that I'm saying it, though, I think that robs you of some of like the little cult classic cool things that you get, like those crazy, like I found this in a bin in the dollar store type situations, and that's the only reason I ever played this game. But it turns out it's a really good game, and I never would have played it if I could have played everything else. I think that's something that in my adult life right now, having all the consoles, probably keeps me from experiencing more. Even though I have more capability, I think I experience less right now. Tell me the first time that you got in trouble for playing too many video games or too much video games.
I got pictures of me playing Ocarina, no shirt on, afro, little fro, because I was trying to grow my hair out when I was a kid, but that never worked. And just my room's a mess, and I'm on this little box TV playing Ocarina of Time, and you can see my stuffed animals in the back. I was a big stuffed animal person. Love stuffed animals, and also bought a house. I had to get my stuffed animals. This is very personal. Had to get all my stuffed animals out of my mama's closet because I got a house. And I did that, and I had to give them away. And I hate that I gave away all my stuffed animals, but I had to. Anyway, looking at that, my mom, she became like, I guess, okay with me playing up, if long as I don't have school, long as I don't have, long as I've done everything, bath, all that kind of stuff, I can play kind of as long as I want. Now, she would come in there and see me asleep and turn off the games and stuff like that. But because I was a good kid, so I was kind of spoiled in that, and she took care of me, and I didn't really have to worry about not being able to play the game as long as I want to.
That's so interesting. I never got in trouble either because I really didn't play them that much, but doesn't mean I didn't take chances.
Yeah.
Because I definitely, I remember when I finally, this flash forward and everything, but when I finally discovered Spyro, which is my favorite game, it changed my life, and we'll probably get into that a little bit later. But it was on PS1, and I didn't have a memory card, and so I would I didn't think anything of it, but I played the first homeworld of Spyro 3 over and over and over. And I remember the first time I finally beat all the homeworlds, and I got on that balloon, and it took me to the second homeworld, and I was like, "There's more." Never done this before, brand new to gaming, and but I was so tired. I'd already beat the whole first homeworld in one sitting to get that far, and so I couldn't turn it off.
Dude.
So I paused it, and then I unplugged my controller so that you wouldn't know, the light wouldn't be on the controller and everything. And I don't know if my parents even know this right now because I had to have it off by a certain time. There was a lights out time, but there was a light on it, and if they'd come in, they would see that my system is on. And so I remember taking I can't remember if it was masking tape or electrical tape. It must have been electrical tape because it's harder to see through that. And I taped over the button so that it wouldn't light up and everything. And then I unhooked it from the back of the TV just in case. Because what if they turned the TV on and my game was on? Yeah. And I left it there for 2 days because I was going to do something else or whatnot. And I came back and my game was still on. And I plugged that joker back into the TV and I played that second homeworld. And finally I was like, ooh. But I didn't know what memory cards were. I knew there were other slots that my controller wouldn't plug into on the front of it. And so I remember my sister-in-law for that Christmas or a birthday or something that year, I still have them. I can show them to you. She got me a 2-pack of Pelican memory cards, and I put that in there, and I saved it. See, these are the kind of things that you only get this experience if you were a 90s gaming baby. Yeah. And I think it's so cool because I was pulling out some retro stuff to make some shorts and stuff recently, and when we moved, just stuff gets jostled around as you move. And I found so I had lost one of the memory cards, and so of those Pelicans, so I had a blue one and a gray one, and the blue one had everything on it, and I was getting full because back then I think it was a 4 megabyte card, was a lot, and I was filling it up, and I couldn't find the other one, and I didn't want to delete anything, and so anyway, I never found it until later on, and then I finally put some stuff on it. But I found, and then I got a PS2, so PS2 memory card was different. It was 8 megabytes, no gigabytes. Sorry, it's 8 gigabytes. Never needed another PS2 memory card ever because it's so much. Dude. But I found them the other day, and what's really special to me is that I still have the save file of the very first time I beat Spyro the Dragon from when I was 10 years old.
Wow.
And I've got that card and I've got that save file. And like, that's just really cool.
That's cool.
It's really cool. So anyway, but props to the sister-in-law because she got me some memory cards and I could turn that joker off. It didn't matter. Or I could go over to a friend's house and put it in their system. And there was
what was your time? Like TV off, game off, all that?
My bedtime was 9 p.m. every night. And I couldn't turn I could do stuff during the weekdays, but I couldn't do anything until so back when I was in school, homework was a lot different than it is now for kids. And so immediately when I got home, I had to do homework. Like, it was the first thing until it got to a point where my dad would get ticked, and every now and then he'd break his own rule for me, and he would let me stay up a little bit later because I remember this only happened like 2 or 3 times, but I'd like to think of myself as not like a kid that has a hard time with academia, but I remember at least 2 or 3 times, whether it was a project or homework or something, probably around the time that I started having 5+ classes in a day, and I'd have homework in, at least 5 of it. Eventually ended up being 7, but at least 5 of the 7 classes I'd homework, so I have to do all of them. Well, if each of those classes took 30 minutes to an hour, because the teachers would always be like, it'll take you 15, 30 minutes and you're done. But if like 6 classes, everybody does 30 minutes homework, well, and then you put dinner on top of that, like you've got 3 hours of homework and you've got, an hour for dinner. I got home at about 3:30, 4 o'clock. And so it was 7 o'clock when I was doing homework, but not really, because I'd get to like 5:30 we'd eat. And so it was oftentimes like 8:30 I'm done with homework. My bedtime is 9. Mm-hmm. So I'd sit in the living room and we would watch like whatever show my dad wanted to watch. Usually it was something like Whose Line Is It Anyway or something like that.
Boy, I watched that the other day.
Yeah. Well, we would watch that and I'd go to bed. So I didn't play most of the time, not because I couldn't, like there's no rule against it. I just didn't have any time left for anything else. And there was a couple nights where homework spilled past 9, and when Dad let me go to bed right after, like once homework was done, I had to go to bed. That happened probably 3 or 4 times before my dad was like, "This is stupid," and he's like, "You're gonna do your homework. We're gonna finish this up, but then you can watch an hour of TV, then we're going to bed," that kind of thing. But they always try to get me in bed by 9 just so I could get like an 8 hours of sleep at least while I was growing. And so weekends were the main thing. And on weekends, until I was in 7th grade, something like that, my bedtime was still 9. Like, I didn't get to stay up later on weekends because you still need 8 hours of sleep. But you know what I mean? Like, yeah, I don't get kids, like, not in like a bad way. It's just I don't understand kids who have the experience of like weekends was like the wild, wild west. That was not the case for me. Man. And then when I hit, I think it was it was 9th grade. When I hit 9th grade, my bedtime went up to 10 o'clock. And so every night.
I mean,
it was 10 o'clock.
That's good. That's
Well, that got shot out of the water real quick because I got in band, and most days when I was doing band and everything, I was getting home at 11:30, 12 o'clock. Mm-hmm. And so school was keeping me out past my bedtime, and then what you going to do? It kind of fell apart.
That's crazy.
Yep. Oh, it's even worse now. This is a different story, but my sister-in-law, who I love dearly, she is in a 6A school, world-renowned program and everything, and it's a little bit easier this year, but last year they had a 9 to 9 rehearsal every Saturday. Like 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. There was a lunch break. And then Tuesday, I think it was Tuesdays and Thursdays, they had after school. They have their band rehearsal every day during school.
Are they good?
But incredible. And world renowned. So good that and then their drum ensemble, their indoor percussion ensemble especially good. They're so good that I think it was 3 or 4 years ago, Lin-Manuel Miranda heard of them and everything, and he wrote a letter and recorded a video about how good their show was and sent it to them. So they're really good. But they better be because put that into perspective, like an hour every day, and then till I think it's 7 or 8 o'clock every Tuesday, from 6 to 9 or 6 to 8, something like that, every Tuesday and Thursday, and from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. every Saturday. And that's stupid. That's a job. It actually is to the point that she wanted a part-time job, but she doesn't have the time. So all that to say, it got even crazier, and she's out like all the time now. But this isn't about her. This is about me. And anyway, so that's kind of how my life was there. And so I didn't get in trouble because I never really played them. And when I did play them, as long as I was in bed by 9, like, I was good. And I was that kid that I really, if I stayed up past my bedtime without my parents knowing, it wasn't for the video games because I never had any handhelds. So like you can't hide, the glow from your big old CRTV that would permeate underneath the door. I couldn't hide that late at night. And so I would, when I got a phone, I would sometimes be on that, but that was a whole different story. Not usually. Or I had a little flashlight, and I would actually, if I stayed up super late, I'd stay up really late and everything with my little flashlight reading. That's kind of what I would do. So, yeah, totally. Just how did I turn out like this? I don't know. But yeah, I didn't really get in trouble for games. Do you remember your first ever video game experience? And you've gone first the last 2 times. I can go first on this one if you want a minute to think about it. So for me, I do remember my first ever video game experience, and it was at my aunt's house. She had an NES that was her daughter's that just kind of got left there. And I can't remember which one of these games it was because it was the dual pack, but it was the dual cartridge for Super Mario Brothers and Duck Hunt. And I don't remember which one I booted up first, but one of those 2 games was my first time ever playing a video game ever. And it was, like I said, it was at her house. I'd play it some. I was absolute dog crap at it. I was so bad. And she would come in and play with me. And I thought it was so cool because she was pretty good at the game, like my aunt. And she would play a little bit there. And we would always play at Mario and Luigi. And she'd let me be Mario. Not that it mattered because the red guy was never on screen. Because how that game works is when one dies, the other one gets a chance to do the same thing. And so she'd get the way to World 8. But I remember being fascinated because she'd jump and hit a vine and climb up. And then go over and there'd be a warp pipe that takes you to World 7 or wherever she'd go, and I'd be like, whoa, it was so cool to me. That was my first time in gaming, but it didn't really set the hook. The first video game I ever owned was my parents, because I was playing games a little bit at my brother and sister-in-law's house. They had a PS1. They had Ape Escape. It was a really good game. And finally, I guess they kind of talked them into it or whatnot, but I've got the PS1 that I have back there that still has the yellow sticker on it. That was the price tag that was on it at the pawn shop where my parents picked it up. And I don't know why I left that sticker on there, but now I leave it on there because it seals it in history, because it tells me, as a reminder, I know how much that cost when I bought it, and it is so different from today. I think it was like $70. But anyway, I got that, and they got me that, and they picked up one game with it, and that game was Driver 2. I still have that game too. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, I did play a good bit of that game, but that's not the game you get a 10-year-old. It was rated T for teen, one, but it's just, that's not the first experience. So I still didn't play much. And then finally, I think it was my brother and sister-in-law that got me Spyro 3, Year of the Dragon. But I never knew it was the third game because the 3 in it is just a dragon. Mm-hmm. It's the shape of a dragon. So it was just Spyro, Year of the Dragon is what I thought it was, and there's this cool dragon back here. And I played the first world, like I already said, a lot, and then finally beat it and hooked me. And then there was a little dollar store called Fred's. Do you remember Fred's? Yeah. They used to have $5 bin games. It was around the time that the PS2 had already been out 3 or 4 years. So tons of PS1 games in there. And they were always duds, really. Mm-hmm. I think I got Winnie the Pooh Tigger's Honey Hunt from that. Banger, by the way. One of those games that you would only play because you have no other options, but it turned out to be pretty good. Though it had a multiplayer game in it that was super stupid. It was rock, paper, scissors. And each controller, you picked a different button and you wouldn't let the other person see. And then on the screen, Tigger or Rabbit would play rock, paper, scissors, shoot. And then you'd be like, ha, I beat you. And somehow that was way cooler than just playing rock, paper, scissors together. But I was basically an only child, so I'd play the game with myself.
God.
So, I would just not look. I would just hit a different button on either controller and see who won.
Dude, I wish I knew you back then.
I wish somebody would have known me back then. I needed friends. My friends were me. Anyway, yeah. I asked the question how I turned out like this earlier, and the longer this conversation goes, the more it's making sense. That's not the thing you agree with. You don't agree there. You say, no, you turned out great. You don't say, yeah, boy.
I was thinking you were saying something really good.
Thank you.
So I didn't want to shut you down.
Thanks. Yeah.
But no,
I got all those brain wrinkles because I didn't play video games.
That's what I was going to say, man. You got some wisdom, and you got, your memory is, crazy because you sitting here explaining or talking about all these memories of games in detail, you're there right now. I can't do that. I'm still sitting here what? game was the first game I've played. And the only thing I can think of, I was like, well, how far can I go back? How far can I remember? Mm-hmm. I remember being 5 years old. And we were staying somewhere. My mama had a friend. He had what did he have? He may have had a Nintendo, first Nintendo, or a Dreamcast or something. I can just remember playing Sonic or playing just the old nostalgia games, Mario. But I feel like Sonic. Oh, and then like 007's. Mm-hmm. A little later. I guess that's probably later on too. But just Sonic, I would say, would probably be the first game. Apart from going to like somewhere like with
arcades.
Yeah. Apart from going to the arcades.
We never went anywhere, so I didn't get my first arcade experience. I think I was already a teenager. I went to a buddy's like birthday party at a CC's Pizza, and they had an arcade-ish type thing going on in the back, and it was one of those racer games or whatnot where you would get on the motorcycle and pretend, and it always sucked. It never really felt the same, but I thought it was cool. I'd never experienced that before.
Yeah, so you being alone was okay.
Me being alone did something to me. Solitary. No, games, I mean, they helped a little bit, I guess, with that. Maybe that's... We'll get to this in a little bit, and feel free to fire some questions at me to test that memory thing, because like I am giving you detail about these things that I know, but it's like hit or miss stuff that there are just pockets of things that I can see, like I remember really strongly, and there's plenty of stuff that I won't remember.
I can remember all the bad things.
Dang. I remember bad things too.
In detail. Bad things in detail.
I definitely remember bad things, but I try to remember good things.
Which I wish I can flip it.
Which I guess that's a good testament. Like everybody can always find the flaws with their parents and the where things went wrong. But generally, I think it's as many things as my parents surely messed up with. I do think it's a testament that I can remember good things or that I just have good memory at all. Honestly, good memory, even though I pretty much ate the same type of food every single day for every day of my life.
What'd you eat?
Some kind of bean or pea. And cornbread because my dad,
Hallelujah.
So while my dad was super frugal, he came, so he's a sibling of like 12 of them in total from a Great Depression parent. Like, so, you know, they were right at the end of the Great Depression. Back then, you had kids so that you could have workers, which jokingly, but that was kind of it. And my dad and like he had one sister that did fairly well for herself. And what kind of happened there is she married up, and that's how it worked for her. Not to just, knock that or anything, but that's just different.
That's luck.
That's a different situation than trying to earn your way out. Mm-hmm. And so my dad was that person. And he is not one of those wealthy people I know now anymore, but of everyone that I'm around and growing up, like all my family, when I look at my family, my dad is the wealthiest, best off of all of the family members that I have or that I know of, though you wouldn't think it from looking at his house or whatnot, because the way that he got there is a staple in our house. I kid you not, we ate some type of dried pea or bean just about every night, to the point that I just cooked black-eyed peas the other night. My wife doesn't really like them, but I cooked them, and as I was cooking them, I was like, it was just hitting me hard, because it smelled like my house always smelled growing up, like, which is just hard to explain. And I was like, this meal that I'm making right now just feels like home. It's crazy. But it hit me hard. I was like, whoa, this is wild. Anyway. And it took me through a whole like slur of different emotions that I felt that evening that this isn't the place or time for now. But so I remember those things. And even though it was all the same stuff, my memory and everything of that, I think, is a testimony to the fact that I was not malnourished. I got plenty of sleep. Overall, generally cared for. Yeah. And so, what more? There could have been more vacations or things like that. But generally, especially knowing as an adult looking back and knowing that background and where they're coming from and everything, like what more could you really, really need? I understand there's more that you could want, but like what more could you need than the house was not always cold in the summer, but it also wasn't like I'm not going to die in it and we could go outside, and the house was never cold in the winter. So I was always warm if I wanted to be. I always had like bedding, clothing, and every now and then, my mom her love language is definitely gift giving, and so she would always try to give things, and that's come to haunt me in my married adult life, because every time I see my parents, birthday, holiday, or not, or otherwise, my mom is always trying to give me something. 80% of the time, something I've never heard of and never needed, but she's bringing it. And or she keeps giving me all the stuff out of her house. Like, I went up there one time and she was like, "We don't need this bed anymore," and I was like, "Neither do we. Keep that." Anyway, I'm digressing a little bit, but yeah, I remember those things. I remember that game and playing them in reverse order in Fred's. I pulled it out, and it was, hey guys, Future Webby here. So it was at this point in the recording that my audio recorder just turned off. I'm pretty sure the batteries died, but I'm not 100% sure on that, because whenever I noticed it, I turned it back on, and we were good to go, but we were already done with the podcast. We almost re-recorded, but I felt like that would take away from the just genuineness if we, faked it a second time. And so I apologize in advance for the lesser audio quality for the remainder of the episode, but the conversation just seemed too good to not try to pull the audio from one of the camera microphones, which is significantly less good, if that's a good way to say it, than something like this SM7B. But all the same, I hope you guys still enjoy the rest of the conversation, and thank you guys so much for watching this far into the video. I remember this on it because it was $5, big yellow sticker on Spyro 2 Ripto's Rage, and I was like, there's a second one. And I brought it home, and I thought it was going to be the sequel to what I'd already played, but nothing made sense. I was like, why can't I do the things I already could do? And then I realized I played them perfectly backwards, because by the time I got married, my wife had the first game, so I finally, as an adult, was finally able to complete all of it. It's why I don't have as much nostalgic connection to the first Spyro. Like, I play it, I do like it. It's not the one that I'm like, the third one that I'm like when I hear that Stuart Copeland track at the beginning and it's bump, bump, dum, bump, bump, I'm like lit up inside. I'm like, oh, I know that one. So, and a lot of people feel that way about whatever their first game was, whether it's ba da 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 or whether it's bump, 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 bump. Oh man, that was just the thing there. And some people my age, a lot of people, it's the how does it go? I'm playing it in my head. Ba-da, ba, ba-da. You know that one? Ba-da, ba-da, ba-da. It's the intro right after the little brunch at the beginning of Ocarina of Time. That's how I know that you're not a real fan.
Maybe you should sing it better.
Jerk. No, you're probably right. You sing it.
No,
because it wasn't my game, so I may be singing it wrong.
No, I'm not gonna.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Because it has like that.
Yeah.
And then it goes.
Wait, what was this? You know, I'm a later Zelda fan, though.
Oh, so you would be I don't know.
It has to have the ocarina.
All you want is just like the ones that you play in the game with the
No, I like the nostalgia Zelda.
What I mean is like
music, but
that's what you'd recognize.
I know,
yeah. You wouldn't recognize like the theme. You would recognize like character themes, like Zelda's Lullaby, or you would recognize Epona's song, that kind of thing, because you played it in the game. It wasn't. You were probably like, as soon as that came on, you were like, thing start. Look like I'll tell you what it was. When did you know that video games were like a big deal to you, like a big deal for your life? Let me go.
Yeah.
Honestly, they weren't a big deal to my life until about 2017, 2018. Like, I played it a little bit, but I've loved games for the healthy respect. I've healthily respected games my whole life, ever since I've known they were there. They were fun, but they were always just that. They were just like they were honestly more like a toy, if that makes sense. Like, they were a toy that I played with. And then I'd go to something else. They weren't like their own thing. They really didn't become their own thing until Fortnite Battle Royale, where I was moved away, I was married, and it came out, and some of my friends from back home and everybody in the world were starting to talk about it. It was season 4, chapter 1, and I just recently got an Xbox One so that I could play Minecraft on it, because that's what I wanted to play, because I remember playing Minecraft with my nephew growing up, Finer, who was not Finer then. Back then, I called him Squishy. But and he's changed. He ain't Squishy anymore.
Can't wait to get on CFDs and play with Squishy.
Please tell him that. I got to play that. They were like, hey, check out this game. I played it. I played a couple rounds with them. Yeah, and liked it so much, I ended up buying another Xbox so that my wife could play with us, and we would all get on. And for at least 2 months or so, I mean, there were the people who were playing that dropped out pretty quick, but the core people, which were the me and Mermaid, eventually fell off, but the me and the Mermaid and the Whittier Jones and the Phobic Dragon, we were playing every night. And then they had some family friends or whatnot that would play some. My Mermaid fell off. Finer kind of picked up into it, and just we played it a lot. And the reason we played it so much is I found for the first time in like 4 years I was talking with my friends from back home again. Yeah. And from that point I realized, games can be a social thing, and when games can, because I grew up alone, so when games became social, and I shared this in our episode with Pre and Loki on. Now it's like my stage. Games are this place where I go where the icebreaker is already out of the way. I don't come up and I'm like, hey, do you like video games? By nature of you being in my chat, you probably like video games or like me for some reason. And so now we've already got like that out of the way. Like now it's just, hey, what do you think about this? Oh, cool. And my favorite thing, if you guys don't know this, get in my chat and just talk with me about games or whatever you want to do. I love nothing more about when I'm playing a game than when someone is like engaging about, it doesn't have to be about the game, but engaging about something about gaming culture or technology back and forth with me. I did that with Twiggy the other day in chat, and I put myself on push to talk so you guys didn't have to keep hearing me, because we're going back and forth and everything on the way the algorithm works on YouTube, and just going for it. Spaghetti is another, he's a TikTok creator and one of my good friends. And we go back and forth all the time about stuff like that. Not everybody, the viewers don't always love that, but then someone comes in, like, I don't know, like I love like Ghosty or Gamertag that have been coming in, and they're talking about Fortnite stuff or stuff that's happening, and I love, especially if we're doing a direct. Anyway, long story short, I like talking about stuff. I like talking with people. I never had anybody to talk with when I was home. I talked with people in school a little bit, and so I think that has manifested a little bit in my video gaming now. And I don't even think I'm addicted to games. I think I'm
addicted to people.
I think I'm addicted to that. Yeah, because I find myself
conversation. I'm social.
Yeah, I find myself now like when the cameras are off, I want to go in here. I think that's what's hurt me a little bit with playing some of these other games, because I feel like they're just work. Because when the cameras are off, I come in here and I want to play something, and I'm like, I don't have the time to dedicate to a Starfield. And so, unless I'm streaming it, and when I'm streaming it, I just don't feel like I'm missing things. So I don't play those games. If I'm playing a game for fun, I like to play something like Sea of Thieves, which I'm not really paying attention to the story. We're just doing something together. Or a Fortnite, even though Fortnite now is getting old for me.
On Pokemon and bring the co-op in the online.
Well, they've got co-op, but it's not good. I would like to like Pokemon. I like the idea of Pokemon, but I don't like the execution of Pokemon.
I think this is something that's one I want to talk about. But whenever they did introduce where you can play, we played like probably one time together, and it just wasn't. And then they don't have a thing where we can communicate.
Nintendo's got to get some kind of chat system going. All right, there's only 3 more questions on this. We'll go through them kind of quick, and I'll probably like put some of them together. If you could go back in time and play any game for the first time again, what would you play? And if you want to share, why?
Breath of the Wild.
You'd play Breath of the Wild again for the first time?
For the first time.
Interesting. That's a good.
Because I didn't have a Switch then. I bought somebody's Switch.
Well, at some point you played it for the first time, but I don't know if I would. Maybe unless it's a modern game. So maybe if I had to think of a modern game, I'd go back and play it for the first time. It's probably the 2018 God of War, because I really enjoyed that, and it was the first time that I saw modern hardware kind of pushed a little bit. It was eating that up, and or maybe even Fortnite, because I loved that so much. I'd like to experience that feeling again. But I thought about this a little bit when I was writing the questions, and I don't think even though I love Spyro and I love Ape Escape and all these other games, I recognize that they are locked in their time a little bit, and so.
So you mean like now for the first time?
Yeah, like if you can play a game.
See, I was thinking you were saying just go back in time when you played the game and play the game. I don't know. That's a pretty deep question.
You can interpret it that way, fine. There's no wrong way to interpret it, but I think of it as if today, Webby, was to play one of these games for the first time again. And I don't think I could have enjoyed Spyro. I would have enjoyed it, but I wouldn't have enjoyed it as much as I've come to love that game. I have so many other memories connected with Spyro the Dragon. Like, I've got a little TV, like a very small CRTV that I would carry to my neighbor's house, who was really, really kind of like, I had one living grandmother, but I barely ever saw her. And so this neighbor was more like a grandmother to me, and she would watch me on days where, like, if I got out because I was exempt from testing or something, I'd play games at her house, and we would take breaks to make cookies together. Like, we would put out the rolling pin and everything. We would make all our cookies and everything, and then I would play that game, and she'd kind of watch, but she wouldn't really get it. So then she'd put Wheel of Fortune on or something, and she'd watch her shows, and I would play my Spyro on her little coffee table there, and just so many things that I didn't understand that were happening there too. I remember sitting on that couch in her living room, and there was a pillow. It was in the shape of a heart. It was from a dialysis, or American Heart Association, but it was because of dialysis, I think. And I don't even know all the details of it. Remember, I'd like that pillow, and I would use that pillow to hold my hands up when I played. And all the emotions that were probably going through this elderly woman's mind when that was going, because the reason they had this heart-shaped pillow was because their daughter, who had passed away like a year or two prior, and I don't remember exactly why, but I think it was some form of cancer, but she had died. And so the nurses and everything gave her this pillow, and I remember all of them had signed the pillow and everything when she was going through treatment, because she had supposedly beat it, but then it did not really. And so she sees this little kid over there that probably reminded her a lot of her little kid, and all this stuff that I view when I look back at now. But I don't know, I connect memories of her with Spyro. I connect my fun memories when I'm at the house with Spyro. I even connect the best experience I ever had having the flu with Spyro. But it was a different Spyro. But I had swine flu, and my wife hates it when I tell this story, because she had swine flu and she was like almost died, and it was really, really bad. But my parents made sure that I had like antibiotics and everything that I needed for that. So I was sleepy, but I really didn't even feel bad when I had swine flu. And so while the time I had swine flu, I beat Spyro, or The Legend of Spyro the Eternal Night. And so, heck yeah, and bump school. So I just connect all these good memories to it. But what about you? If you could go back and, well, you already answered it. You answered it and said it was Breath of the Wild. What are you playing the most right now? So for me, it's hands down. I'm surprised that this is way, but hands down right now, I'm playing Sea of Thieves 2023 edition the best.
That's what I was going to say. PC stuff.
Yeah. Bump consoles, right? You'll never be a PlayStation boy again. You don't know. You might not. You're having second guesses over there.
I don't know. I really like PlayStation.
I don't think that's anything wrong. I like all of them for different reasons. What do you do when you're not gaming? So, like, what's Topaz when the screens are off?
I have 2 kids. I have 2 kittens. I have a wife. I work at a church.
All right, that's it.
That's it.
I love how you put it. You're like, I have 2 kids. I have 2 kittens. I have a wife. I work at a church. Like, rehearsed, and it wasn't. You know, I'm not loving the job. I love the people I work for. But I'm currently checking inland oil wells, which was never supposed to be the forever. And guys, like, share, comment, subscribe, so it doesn't have to be the forever. But that's what pays the bills right now. I'm really trying to make a serious, but this feels like work too, but a serious effort to connect with friends and family more, because like I'm doing the biggest push in content that I have ever done right now, and it's paying off. I'm making not maybe the best stuff ever, but the best stuff that I've ever made has been coming out now. And I think it's pretty good. I think it's pretty compelling. I think it's worth watching. Yeah. And so whether it's live streams, those are okay. The YouTube content's really good. I think the podcast is pretty good. I just feel like I'm doing that. And my conversations and who I am as a person in this industry is finally beginning to solidify. That's really cool. That comes with a really unfortunately, a really drastic trade-off. And that trade-off is that when I'm working, a full-time job as well, is that I pretty much only work. I work and I do my day job, and then when I'm not gaming, that's maybe some of what's ruining gaming for me, is because it does feel like work, and have time. Like I got super tilted the other night playing Sea of Thieves because, and the reason I got tilted, I didn't go into detail with this with you guys, but I'll share it now. We ran into like, a guy that was just being what some people are in Sea of Thieves and was just basically harassing us a little bit with that. Or it was two Reapers that were doing it. And I remember when I logged on though, I had worked all morning, like regular work, and then I came home and I filmed and edited and got a YouTube video uploaded and worked. And I told myself, I was like, if you get all this stuff done, then you can play. And I was really looking forward to it. I was like, all right, I did it. And then, but I hate this feeling of wasting time. And so I did all that, and we played, and the first little bit went really well. And then we lost. No, that's not true. I'm thinking of a different one. We lost everything that we had worked for. We played for like 2+ hours, something like that. It was all the time that I really had left in the day. And since we lost everything, I wasn't having fun, so I didn't have that to gain for it. We didn't increase any of our renown or our gold or everything in the game. So that fun reward became a huge waste of time for me. And I don't have time to waste. And so I recognize that's where that came from. And I don't feel that way anymore upon reflection. And by the next morning, I remembered that, like, well, it was a not fun experience, but I was able, for what the game was, but it's still cool that I was able to sit down and play with Topaz and Whittier, and I had something there, and that was worth it. And so that made me feel a lot better. But so that's what I'm doing. But
stop bullying people.
Well, and like I do that. I record videos. I try to update stuff on stream. I set up or tear down all these cameras that are around the room. I edit, and then once, sometimes twice a month, I have a long weekend, which is my weekend tomorrow. And those are 13-hour regular work days. And so I'm not good at texting friends to just hang out or trying to go over to their houses or see stuff like that, because to be completely frank, I just don't know where to fit it. I don't know where to fit that. I've only got 24 hours, and unfortunately, I have to sleep some of them. And I wish I didn't have to, but I just can't fit it. So this is a fun game.
We could do another episode about
us. Hey, ask us questions. In the comments, if you made it this far, ask us what you want to know about us, and we'll compile them all. And if we get enough of them, we'll make an episode answering your questions. Like whatever you want to know, put them in. I'll do a Q&A on the podcast episode instead of a poll on Spotify, and then on YouTube on the comments. Let us know, or in the live episode right now. Let us know what you want to know about us. I'll compile them. We'll do an episode for it. It'll be fun. It'll be good.
Sounds good.
Other than that, you can catch me, and usually if we're playing Sea of Thieves, since that's the only thing we play anymore, live every Tuesday and Thursday night at twitch.tv/WebbyPumpkin, pretty much consistently. Also, I'm on trying to stick with it, but right now I've been on a roll of posting one official video every week on YouTube, trying to do that on Thursdays, usually about 11 Eastern. We're trying to do that. You can also at me on Twitter, X, @WebbyPumpkin. I would love to hear from you there, but by far the best way to engage with me in a conversation is going to be in that live stream. I'd love to do that. And then Topaz is often there as well. So you can, actually, I want you to show up if you want to hear more about his life and his childhood and everything. I want you to show up in the chat, and I want you to say, "Where's @Topaz?" And if he's not there, I will take a picture and I'll send it to him and be like, "You're letting the people down." And then that peer pressure will bring him in.
No matter what I'm doing, it would definitely bring me there. That's the kind of person I am.
I don't want to make light of that or use you, but anyway, thank you guys so much for watching to the end of the video. And hey, if you didn't know, there's this new thing that we've been doing. It's not that new. It's been going on for a couple episodes and everything. And that's when we end an episode, we say,
"Web's out."
See y'all later.